Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Real Collective Podcast. I'm Brendan McKeigan. With me, as always, is Sean Tassé. Do us a favor if you're having a good time with these shows, like, subscribe, and share. Give us a download and whatever you can do on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We would greatly appreciate it. Today, we're going to talk about some of the government budgets rules that they've released, specifically pertaining to the housing market. Some of it is ridiculous and redundant, but we're going to get into it. So Sean, what's your overlying thoughts about what was said?
Yeah, I think, it's good that they put the budget out, and obviously the government's taking a look at real estate. It's probably one of the fastest growing asset classes over the course of the last 2 years. So if it's time to regulate a free market, leave it up to the government. I'm not sure if anything that they really implemented is going to have any major effect. I think there's a bit of a magician's trick here, whereby they are sort of saying, hey, we're going to do all this stuff over here, when in reality the problem's over here, and they're just sort of letting it slide. So we can talk about that.
And a lot of it just seemed really obvious too. They're like, oh, there's a supply issue. Okay, thanks for saying that. There's this whole thing where the government is basically just like, it's ridiculous. Like, they're running on a platform that's like, listen, there's this problem, and you shouldn't punch babies. And everyone's like, yes, you shouldn't punch babies. That's right. You shouldn't. I'm on board with that. Like, well, yeah, that's obvious. Like, that's what we're doing here. So when they're talking about, there's a supply demand, there's a supply shortage. Yep. Yeah. All right. Good talk, guys. Thanks. Really appreciate that. You really helped us out.
Yeah.
The one that I do like, though, is the tax-free housing account for first-time home buyers. So that's up to $40,000 to save towards a down payment without any tax implication or conditions. Contrary to the current available options, it's going to add more demands into the pool of buyers over the long term, because more people are going to be like, okay, great, we have access to this money. Finally, that's what's been holding us back, is being able to save for that down payment. So finally there's a way to do that.
Yeah, and $25,000 repaying to your RRSP almost doesn't get you enough. It doesn't get you 5% anymore, because houses aren't $500,000. So upping it to that $40,000 and putting it in a different account than a sort of a tax account that you have to repay over the next 13 years or whatever it is. I think that's a good solution. Another one. So the second one is obviously the budget's going in. They're saying, oh, well, it's the flippers and it's the speculators, and we hate this blind bidding, right? We don't like the foreign buyers, and those are all the reasons why we're getting high prices, because of these buyers who are coming in. So they're proposing a 2-year ban on purchases of residential real estate by people and companies who aren't citizens or permanent residents. There's a few different things, like refugees or international students will be exempt from stuff like that.
Work permits. Right,
exactly. But there's really no change to what we know as far as what the foreign buyers, are doing. I mean, if we're excluding a couple of these groups, we're talking about, less than 1% of our market is going to be affected by this rule. And this is the one thing that everybody's really looking at. Nothing really changed. They said, hey, we're going to do this stuff, but this stuff already existed. So again, it's kind of like, this is the magic trick. Like, this is part of the magic trick. Hey, we don't like these people. And it's really like an othering, right? It's like foreign people. We don't like foreign people. And it's kind of, it doesn't really take into account what's happening sort of behind the scenes.
Yeah, it feels like a South Park episode. It really does, where they're just like, they're taking our jobs. And now it's like, they're taking our homes. No, they're not. No, they're not. Oh my God, it's ridiculous.
No.
What was the other one? There's a pledge in the budget that anyone buying and selling a property within a year would be considered to be flipping properties and subject to a full taxation, which is being tax law for years now. And now it's just like, yeah, but we're going to enforce it.
Yeah.
Like, So the thing we said before, we're still doing that, but now we're gonna for sure do it.
Yeah. Will it actually happen? Again, you know, it's like, yeah, we want to crack down on these flippers. So here's how we're gonna do it. You're flipping and you're moving in, and then your life circumstances change. We're gonna tax you.
Yeah.
You've had the ability to do that for, you know, and so yeah, it's been tough. A neat thing that they're talking about doing it in a couple other provinces right now. I know in BC they're having a conversation about, you know, a guaranteed home inspection and a cooling off period. They're talking about mandatory home inspections for houses that are over 25 years old on the Quebec side. So they also said that they were going to bring forward a home buyer's bill of rights. It would include, among a few other things, an end to blind bidding. That seems very short-sighted. It seems very focused on only the market that we're in right now, and if the market changes, wouldn't really have an effect. So you know, it's not really part of the budget. It's just sort of a statement that they're making along with the budget. So it doesn't really mean anything. There's nothing that says, hey, here's what we're going to spend some money on. No, we just want to do this thing. So, okay.
Yeah.
No, but there's you're not doing anything. Again,
Yeah.
it's this magic trick. And the thing that a lot of people are missing is that CMHC exists to try and provide housing. The Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation is a crown corporation and exists to provide housing to everybody, to general population. And they've got a bunch of money that they could go and they could spend to build, you know, like fairly priced housing, not necessarily low income housing. Yes, low income housing as well, but houses that families of today want to live in. And they can do that. They have the ability to do that. They can build all the houses. They can subsidize all the houses to keep them affordable, but they're not doing it. And the reason is the rest of the magic trick. So that was number 4. We'll get into number 5 in a second. But the rest of the magic trick is because the people who currently occupy that space are all of the real estate investment trusts, the REITs. Okay, so if ever you want to be a real estate investor and you go and put your money in a REIT, the REITs own that space and they get a lot of money. Their job is to generate money back for their investors. And so CMHC sort of says, oh, well, we're not going to play in that space because we don't want to interfere because the REITs pay back to the governments. So this is sounding really, really conspiracy theory-y.
Yeah.
But that's sort of how the whole machine works, and why, maybe I'm wrong. Look, this is maybe it's a theory and maybe it's wrong. I don't know, but it just seems like there's a big magic trick that's sort of going on here, and I'm sounding kind of tin hatty. So sorry if I.
No, I don't think so. I think it's just like, I don't think it sounds like a conspiracy theory. I think it just sounds like, well, yeah, like they're saying this and they could do this, but then it just goes full circle. It's more about being that it just goes full circle than anything else, right? So it's not really a benefit to anyone to do it that way.
Now, yeah, because you know what, honestly, my $100 donation to the politician that I like is nowhere close to the donation that these politicians are getting from REITs, right? And these so the Crown Corporation exists and could solve the problem, but doesn't. And the reason they don't is because they're getting a whole bunch of money from these REITs saying, hey, we're going to, you know, make this whole machine work, right? So it's tough. The 5th one, I'll let you cover. This is the one that sort of gives me hope in terms of the changing of our market and how our market might change. I'll let you hit this one because this is the good one that should solve it.
Yeah. So Ottawa earmarked about $10 billion about across various initiatives to start building some homes. There's $4 billion over 5 years for a housing accelerator fund that's run by the CMHC that hopes to create up to 100,000 new units, and $500 million to expand cooperative housing, which is important, which is subject to cities' development processes and willingness to remove barriers. And if it works, it'll have a long-term impact on housing. We will not notice anything for probably 5 years in terms of supply. And that's where the government admitted that there's supply issues.
Yeah. And you know, it's great that they're doing it, but it's not going to have any immediate change on our market. So some of the stuff we talked about before, you know, it's like it's a trick. They're thinking, oh, and the effect that this is having on our market, like currently, like right now, all of this smoke and mirrors and magic trick stuff is it's confusing our market, right? Some buyers are saying, look, I'm tired, right? I've bid on 61 different houses and I've missed out on all of them. Forget it. I'm out. Until this whole real estate market sorts itself out, where houses aren't selling for $300,000, listing for $1 and selling for 700. You know, I don't want to play these games. Put your thing for sale, give me a price, and I'll go and pay it. Or I'll ask for like $5,000 off the price or whatever it is. Give me a regular type of market. People are saying, until we get to that point, I'm out. I'm not moving. I'm not buying. I'm sick of this. It's silly. Good realtors have had success in this market by guiding their clients and helping them understand how this game works, but it's turned into more of a game than a market, right? And so hopefully the you know, the supply will get fixed, but we're talking at least, you know, 3, 4, 5 years. But we're dealing with this confused market right now where buyers are saying, okay, I'm out. Sellers are saying, okay, here's how to do it. But we almost sort of reached a bit of a saturation point, right? So I don't expect that we're going to see another 20% this year. I did my All Predicto earlier, right? And you know, this year we've already seen 20% at the beginning of the year, so we're probably going to level off, hopefully, for the rest of the year, which means a lot of people will be scrambling. But well, how do I sell a house in a market that is you know, stable and level? And it might only be a while that we sort of do this confused market and get back to something. So everything's in flux right now. When major changes like this are released, there's things that change. But yeah, there's, thankfully, they finally said, yes, we have a supply issue. But really none of the announcements will have a major impact on our housing supply or the momentum that our industry, you know, is seeing right now. The budget has created this confusion. Now, there's a really great opportunity if you're a buyer to slide in here and maybe pick something up in a confused market. So as we've said many times, buy now, right? If there's an opportunity here, you can get in where you might not be competing against 7, 8, 10 different people. You might be the only offering. You might only be competing against 1 or 2, right? Once the dust settles here, we're going to get right back into full gear. Full gear, like I said, might not be, you know, every month is 20%, but it might be that, you know, year over year, we end up looking like, you know, 15 or 10 or 5%, probably for the next 5 years. So it's just going to be a steady growth, you know, and yeah, I mean, that's my expectation. That's my belief. I don't have a crystal ball. I do have a tin hat, apparently, but that's, yeah.
And I also think too, like, that's, you know, a lot of this, it's a government announcement across Canada, like all that kind of stuff. But I mean, time and time again, we've said Ottawa is its own real estate bubble. So a lot of this is not going to really affect Ottawa too much, because if you want to talk about supply issues, it's here. And that's what's driving this market to be completely different than any other market in Canada. And again, like you said, that's why it's important when people are kind of like running around like chickens with their head cut off, is slide in and get something. Take advantage of it. Don't be one of those buyers that's like, oh no, I don't know. Just take a breath, talk to your realtor, come up with a game plan, and execute. Take your time out.
Yeah.
Take your 20-second time out and go get a house. Sports.
Sports analogy. And that's it. I really think there's a great opportunity for some people right now, while everybody's running around like crazy, for you to say, okay, boom, here's what I'm doing. Go in, grab it, and make sense of it. And you know, the sellers who have to sell will sell, and the people who are hoping for these crazy numbers won't, right? And stuff will sell for fair market value. It always does. It always will. It's never going to change.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that sounds like a good spot to take a little break. we're going to hear from a sponsor. So in the meantime, again, like, subscribe, and share, and download us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Take a look at this, and we'll be right back.
This episode of the Real Collective podcast is brought to you by Real Collective. Real Collective brings together best-in-class real estate agents and collective experts in the field to deliver the best possible service to our clients. We govern ourselves with honesty, open-mindedness, and compassion. With diverse skill sets, our agents are able to serve a wide array of clients, including first-time homebuyers, first-time sellers, transferees, estate sales, investors, and rural, vacation, and luxury properties. Authenticity and transparency are pillars of our process, which allow us to put our clients at the center of everything that we do. Our years of experience and knowledge allow us to deliver prestigious service and optimal results. If you're interested in buying or selling your home, contact us today at realcollective.ca.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second half of the Real Collective podcast. Again, I'm Brendan McKeigan. This is Sean Tassé. If you want to talk to us about your own real estate needs, click the Calendly link below. You can talk to either one of us, set up an appointment on your time, and it's in there, and we'll get back to you. Again, like, subscribe, and share us on the YouTubes, and don't forget to download us on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. I don't know, and if you need to do that, but why not? Go for it. Go for it. So, continuing where we left off, we're just going to talk a little bit more about the government announcement and their budget and everything else. So, where do we leave things with that first half?
Yeah, I think we were sort of talking about the government budget. I kind of wanted to, if it's okay, I kind of wanted to shift gears and talk about sort of where we're sitting now at the end of the first quarter of 2022. So, take a step back and look at what has happened, and should give us a really good indication about where we're going for the rest of the year. And it's been another huge growth, at least a start to the year in terms of growth. And I think we were sort of saying, well, not really sure if it's sustainable, because we were seeing like 20% growth again at the beginning of this year. So my guess is it will start to slow down just a little bit. You can start to see those changes when you evaluate the first 3 months as a whole. We actually sold 5.6% less properties. So we sold 4,362 as opposed to 4,622 year to date at the end of March. But the average price has gone up to 738 from 646. So, we had a huge price jump again, sort of to start the year in the first quarter, but there's less houses that are selling. And what that tells me is that the demand is less. So there are fewer people who are wanting to buy houses, not by a lot, but, marginally less. And if you just simply extrapolate the, 4,300 houses multiplied by 4, we're looking at, what is that, 16, 17, just shy of 18,000, because typically we have our busiest quarters the second quarter in Ottawa. So we'll expect to see that number go up, but it might be trending behind where the 2021 number of sales was. But the prices, it seems, are going to go up. There's not, the only way to really solve it is to have more inventory. And we just talked about at the beginning, we're not going to get more inventory. So, there will be sort of this like trick that buyers will think that there's more inventory because it's springtime, and as a result, just naturally more houses come out. But when we turn around and look at it, I don't think we're going to see a lot more houses available. Like, to get to a balanced market, we need 4 months worth of inventory. And we're sitting at like less than 3 weeks worth of inventory on the market, considering the number of sales that are happening. So this isn't going to change anytime quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of look at it too, that like if there's less homes sold this year than there was last year, and the average price is going up, that means there's still a supply issue. That it's like, the price went up because there's less homes maybe even available that are being even listed. So maybe the number of buyers are staying the same. It could be that. Who knows? No crystal ball or tinfoil hat. I don't have either of them. I got a Blue Jays hat because when we record this, it's opening day. Yeah, man. I think if you kind of just take a look at what's happened, then it's kind of like you have at least a game plan that you can set for yourself going forward. And especially if you're a numbers person and you want to look at like what happened last year and what happened this year for that first quarter, and then let's try to apply that to the second quarter, so it kind of gives us an idea of where we're going to be. That might help you when you're putting an offer in on a house. That, you know, that might help anything, like just any kind of offer that you can make. Obviously comparables and things like that might change or fluctuate one year to the next, but I don't know. It's an interesting time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, if you're expecting to go in and submit an offer for a house, and you know, over the course of the last 2 years, you'd expect to be competing with 8 or 9 different people, we're finding that you might only be competing with 2 or 3 other people. And in some cases, you're not competing with anybody. And you know, in those instances, we talked about this in the first half, the savvy buyers are going in and they're buying houses for great prices right now, because you know, the market is a bit confused. People are, you know, buyers are just done. A lot of them are just saying, well, I'm going to wait until this whole thing sorts out. And so if that's you, if you've been saying, oh, I'm going to wait until this whole thing sorts itself out, the answer is go buy right now. Right? This is about as good as it's going to get in this confused environment. You know, there's buyers who are, for the first time, clients are going down south, right? People are taking trips, they're taking time away, they're going away with their family. You know, these interest rate changes, the fluctuations always make people confused. We saw the same thing back in June last year when the interest rates bumped up. We're talking about inflation coming down the pipe, and so that's going to have an effect on increasing the confusion. We've got international uncertainty with what's going on in Ukraine and Russia right now, and of course that's terrible. And it all just adds to the confusion, right? Like I said before, it's like a magic trick. There's all this stuff happening over here and it's taking attention away. And as a result, in this lane, in this real estate lane, there's opportunities, right? So the buyers are taking a bit of a breath and the sellers are actually seeing fewer offers. But you alluded to before, the inventory is super low. So yeah, it's interesting, that's for sure. So there's some sellers who are still just knocking it out of the park, right? Like some sellers are still getting like crazy good numbers for their listings. Typically, those are the ones that show better. So if you want to know how to make sure your house shows better, we did an interview with our stager, and you know, the better looking houses sell better, really. And some buyers who are buying houses that might not look that great are getting better deals on really great homes, right? And so knowing how to navigate all this, working with your realtor, hopefully Brendan or I or somebody else on the team, you know, you can really work well. But overall, the residential market still is strong across the board. We're looking at $100,000 year over year appreciation, you know, looking from March back to March in 2021. So yeah, I mean, it's all positive. It's just not fervent.
It's a good word. I like that.
Yep.
Not fervent. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are still like, I'm gonna wait out the bubble, and we talked about that, so I don't want to beat the dead horse, but I mean, facts are facts, and talked about it time and again. So I think the sooner you can get into a place, the better. I do think like you said, there's maybe some more opportunities for people that are just listing their home at what they want it for, and maybe a little bit more to be able to negotiate down to their happy medium. So maybe some people are like, even on the listing side of things, like, I don't want that many people coming through my house. I just want this much for my house. And if that means staying on the market a little bit longer, then so be it, because it's not showing up in searches. It's not showing up. I mean, you never know. You never know what some people want, right?
Well, and again, all of that just adds to the confusion, because when you've got people who are listing for $1 and you've got people who are listing for 10% less than the actual number that they want, you know, and they say holding offers or no offers until a certain day. And then you've got some people who are listing at the price that they want and they're not holding offers, sometimes, I can get it from a buyer's point of view. If you don't know how the game works, you can just look at all this and scratch your head and be like, do these realtors even know what they're doing?
Yeah.
They're all over the map here. And that's the thing, is there's no, we're in this confused market, and part of it is because of all these different particular scenarios. And look, if you're not going to hire Brendan and I as your agents, that's fine, or anybody else on the team, that's fine, but please hire an agent if you're trying to sell, or if you're trying to buy, trying to navigate this. There's micro changes that happen every week, right? And we're in it, we're in it every single week. But if you're basing all of your decisions that you're making when you're buying or selling on a headline that you read two weeks ago, it's old news. You're gonna be lost. So
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of just shooting yourself in the foot at that point. I mean, when are you gonna? Yeah, read more than just the headline.
Hire a professional and listen to what they say.
Yeah, weird concept.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we covered it. Not necessarily too super in depth, because I didn't want to get into that too far, but we wanted to cover what was said, hopefully help everybody make sense of it, so that you can listen to this, and then you can book an appointment with us below in our Calendly links, and we can talk to you about what's going on. Obviously, that doesn't mean you're locked into any sort of thing. It's just to be able to talk to you and help you through this market. So we will we'll end it there, and we'll see you guys next time. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Give us a follow and subscribe and a download, whatever you got to do on the Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Again, our Calendly links are below. If you haven't used that, it's very simple. You just click on it and then book a time, and then you talk to us. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's a great tool. So check that one out. I don't think I'm missing anything. I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm looking forward to how all of this plays out in Ottawa. But until the next one, I'm Brendan McKeigan. This is Sean Tassé. Keep it real.
Collective.